This is a golden opportunity for the Montreal Canadiens coming off a rough stretch of games. They head into Columbus on prime Monday night hockey, ready to set the ship straight with some big changes to the lineup, the power play, and so much more. And today we got special guest, prime Monday night hockey between the benches analyst and former NHLer Jody Shelley. Welcome, Jody, to the show. This is a big night for both Montreal and Columbus looking to climb up those standings.
It is. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I like being on this podcast. I've never been on before, but thank you. And it's a big one. You think back to last year, these were two teams that were, in the East, no one was grabbing that final playoff spot. And the Blue Jackets watched the Carolina Hurricanes walk into the Bell Center and get the 2 points, and that meant that Montreal was in and the Blue Jackets were out. So, I think that's a fresh memory here in Columbus where they want to make sure, and like the Canadiens know, make sure they get the points early in the season. And it looks like the Canadiens have done a better job of that to this point.
For sure.
And in your experience, Shelley, as a veteran of 12 plus years in the NHL, 627 regular season games, what are you looking at tonight as the keys to victory for both the Montreal Canadiens and the Columbus Blue Jackets?
Well, I think both of these teams are on the younger side. Obviously, Montreal is one of the youngest teams, if not still the youngest team in the league. And the Blue Jackets still have young talent, but Cole Sillinger's 5 years in and he's 22 years old. So it's kind of the time for these young guys. Don't give the game away. If you look at the games, the teams that the Montreal Canadiens have just played, LA veteran team, they don't give the game away. They live to fight another day throughout plays. And I think with some players with a high skill, high speed, and want to break things open right now within the game, I think both these teams have that type of player. And it's for those guys to maybe hold on to the puck or, put it in the offensive zone or, like I said, live to fight another shift. Not just try to do it all in one motion when you're down or when you have the lead or when you think you can break through in an area where veteran teams will just lock you down, wait for your time. And the Blue Jackets just saw the Rangers here last game. Very defensive, very well coached, a little bit older with their players, and they just stayed patient. And the Blue Jackets stayed patient and went to a shootout. So they have that ability. They have a belief. But I think both of these teams find themselves in trouble in those moments when they give it up. They in the wrong areas, and then it goes the wrong way.
Yeah, 100%. And, again, being young and inexperienced, Montreal is still the youngest team in the league, coming off that playoff appearance, which I think shocked so many people, right? There's a lot of pressure, I think, from fans especially to get back to that level. But one of the big things, that's a big talking point right now for Montreal is the special teams, right? Especially with the big changes on the power play recently with Zachary Bolduc now jumping up to the first power play unit to replace Ivan Demidov. So, with Columbus, to me right now, they have been a team that has struggled pretty heavily this year in the special teams department, being 22nd on the power play and 26th on the PK. What role do you see special teams playing in this game? A Montreal team that's kind of trying new units versus a Columbus team that has kind of struggled there. Could this be an opportunity in your mind for Montreal to get that power play back on track after this last 0 for 17 stretch?
Well, with the clientele, you could probably say that every night going into a game. You got to remember the penalty killers and the goaltender, they have a very specific structure and they pay a big price on the penalty kill. There's a lot of pride and work ethic on a penalty kill. And entries can be a trouble for both teams at times. With the Blue Jackets, yeah, it's going to be important. This is going to be an important night on special teams, and I think a lot of nights. And last game, the Blue Jackets played to a 1-1 tie in regulation. Both goals from one from the Rangers, one from the Blue Jackets, were both on the power play. So when you get those moments in a tight checking game, you have to take advantage. Those guys are trying different things out there on both teams. There's a lot of good options. I think sometimes you see power plays that have struggles. It's because they're trying to run specific plays and not just taking what's given to them. And now I spoke with Zach Werenski, the Blue Jackets defenseman, today, and he was talking about, I asked him about shooting pucks more often. He said, I don't want to waste a shot. I don't want to shoot a puck when the guys on the flanks aren't close enough to the net to get rebounds. I don't want to shoot a puck where the goalie can see it and he's just going to stop the play. He goes, you work so hard to get in the offensive zone and then you make those plays, it's almost like a dead play. So everyone has to be on the same page throughout the power play. And I don't think that just means the setup. I think that means when a shot is coming or everyone knows the shot's coming, they can get there and get retrievals. And I think that's what you're seeing with good power plays. If I know, or Zach knows he's going to give it over to Adam Fantilli on the right, or in Montreal Canadiens know Cole Caufield's going to get it down below, and he's going to attack when everyone can converge and get the puck back if it doesn't go well. And I think that's a real big key in all of this is not just when you do get in the zone, it's then not being surprised when a shot does come and not ready to get the puck back, which is a big deal.
Yeah, and a two-part for you, maybe a vet who knows a little bit about that of being poised with the puck. Sean Monahan, we know, was beloved in his time in Montreal for a reason. Can we get him back? But my real question is, what has he brought to the Columbus Blue Jackets? And secondly, we know he's going to be paired tonight with Ken Johnson as well. Chinakhov is going to be going up to play with Monahan as well. What do you expect to see from those three together? And what has been the overall effect of Sean Monahan on the Columbus?
Well, I'll start with Monahan. He's been a real stabilizer for this organization. You know, he came in last year as a number one center with Voronkov and Marchenko, one of the top 5-on-5 lines in the National Hockey League. He can slow the game down, which I think is important. When everyone wants to speed it up, you can slow it down a little bit. He's a guy that is always in the right position. He covers a lot up defensively. He's good on faceoffs. He's just a great veteran asset for everyone. And anyone he plays with gets better. And that's the value of Sean Monahan. So tonight he's playing with Kent Johnson, who's been a healthy scratch. He's been in the top six. He's been in the bottom six. And he's playing with Chinakhov, who's also been top six, fourth line, bottom six, healthy scratch, more times than not. Both these guys are first-round picks of the Blue Jackets. Both these guys, especially Chinakhov, a lot of speed, 100-mile-an-hour wrist shot. He's got all the skills, so he brings speed to that line. They want him to compete a little more on pucks like Marchenko does. And then for Kent Johnson, they want him to play a little more straight ahead. He's got a little too much wobble in his game where he slows it down and checks what's happening around him before he goes. So that, to me, is a great second line. If those three can click, because the young skill around Monahan, he can just feed them all night long, and they can get things going, much like some of the dynamic lines of the Montreal Canadiens.
That's going to be very exciting to watch. Again, a lot of dynamic players in both these lineups. Again, Ivan Demidov, the one that stands out. Cole Caufield, Suzuki, pick your poison. And Columbus has so many exciting young players too. A lot of young Russian talent in this game. But there's one element, the final question here for you, Mr. Shelley, just before we end this off, because there's so much we could talk about. If only we had, all the time in the world to talk about this game. But final thing here I wanted to talk about. Look, you yourself, a little bit about playing with the physical edge, right? I mean, leading the league in penalty minutes one year. I mean, you get it, right? So this is a big factor that has been discussed around Montreal and even to some extent Columbus as well. And, this year so far, Montreal is 14th in terms of hits given. This data here comes from Money Puck, whereas Columbus comes in at 23rd. Now, it's not that big a difference. 334 hits for Columbus, 364 for Montreal. And, with Montreal missing some key players like Patrick Laine, Alex Newhook, who brings some grit, Kaiden Guhle, again, he lays the body a bit. They did bring up a guy in Jared Davidson who can bring that grit and some hits to that fourth line. What role do you see physicality playing for both of these teams? Two pretty young teams, two teams that have some guys that can lay the body. Do you see that as maybe a deciding factor, or at least a big factor in terms of the momentum in tonight's game?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's a big part of the game. I think it's a big part of getting into games, giving a hit, taking a hit, engaging in a battle. I think the first few games for a lot of organizations, players forget, they're just out there playing hockey instead of putting that emotion in the game, getting your nose in there. It's an important element of the game. I mean, whether you're going to kill a play, if you're going to, separate a man from the puck, change momentum, let the other team know that's how like Josh Anderson, to me, he's a dangerous player when he gets out there and he gets physical. He knows that. He's a guy that can make an impact and turn a game around. Xhekaj, if he gets a hit, Struble's a guy that can hit. When I look at your D, I mean, I think you've got, when healthy, with Guhle, you guys might have the top four defensemen as a whole in the group. And, the smarts and the skill is one thing, but skill doesn't like to get hit. And I think that if you allow Werenski to get up ice, if the Blue Jackets, let players like Hutson get up the ice without that little hit to get in his way, just a little hit, get in the lane, take away some of that speed, it throws them off a little bit. So I think it's a big factor as things go on. And you need to have players, like Bolduc, who can do it, but he's got to be quick to get there. You have to be a little bit quicker with your feet to get there. So when it becomes a second thought, sometimes you freeze, but if you're thinking, get my feet moving, take the hits that are there, then you establish more of a game. And I think when you're looking to forecheck and get on the cycle, the first player is so important to drive it, because the rest of the group can follow off of that. So if you go hard and get a hit, we can all now see where the play is going to go, and we can get in position to swarm and take the puck away. So, I think it's always been an important part. And I'll give you an example. The other night here at home, flat building, Saturday night, 18,000 people. Mathieu Olivier asked the next D that were going up, which was Severson and Matejchuk. He said, just lay one in my corner. And they did that. He got a massive hit. Everyone stood up, and the game changed. So it's little plays like that, of course, I like the physical part of the game, but I think every player on the bench of the team that's being physical loves it too. It brings you energy, gets you a little higher, and, get a little more engaged.
Absolutely. Playing with energy is very important. Well, we're going to have to end that off there. Thank you so much, Mr. Jody Shelley, for joining the show. Don't forget to catch Prime Monday Night Hockey tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Habs versus Blue Jackets. You'll get to see Mr. Shelley, the Between the Benches analyst, along with the incredible Prime team. Watch on Prime Video. That'll do it for this episode. And hey, if you want more videos just like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier, and special guest Jody Shelley. We'll catch you all in the next one.